I can't hear you, Annemarie. Mm-mm. No.
How about now?
Yep.
Okay. Great. So
It's just really quiet.
Well, I'm trying not to scream. How's that? Is that better?
Let me turn up my. Okay.
I'm back in the office, so I don't want to be like
I
the loud
see.
person. Yeah, I don't want
That's
to be the loud
exciting.
person. I know it is really exciting to be back. I'm super excited about it. So, we have a few more people coming in. Let me let them in here. Awesome. So what we're going to talk. Hi, everybody. So thank you all for coming today. I am excited to have you guys all here, and we have an hour. And so just to kind of start, this is kind of a brand new thing that we are doing here, and you always are allowed to come in more than once, but you don't have to, right? So we're trying to get a lot of the basics out so that everybody learns what we need to do in the beginning. So we're going to get started. So hey, Kristen Kalivas, you look different today. That's okay, you don't have to answer me. So a couple of things that I'm going to talk about right now and is goal setting and accountability, right? And all of these courses are they're very cyclical. And essentially, what I'm going to be working with everybody on and what I'm going to cover is there's going to be a session on business planning, and we will do a group business plan. We'll do individual business plans in a group, and then you and I will fine tune them together. Another week is going to be your 411, right? And your 411 stands for your annual goal, your monthly goal, and then what activities that you need to do. Oops, Kristen, what's wrong? You said, can everybody hear me? Kristen, can you not hear me? Okay. Kristen, can you not hear me? Okay, if you can't hear me, let me just, wait, I guess if they can't hear me, they won't. Let me see if I have a better head. Yes, I can.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, that was loud.
Sorry.
That's okay. Is it better now?
My computer started telling me it was going to shut down.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, it looks all good now.
Okay, good. All right,
sorry.
Good. So we're back to where we said. That's okay. So we are also going to do model systems and tools, and then every week I do an orientation. So, again, you only need to come to these things once, but you're always more than welcome to come more than once. So one of the things that we do at Keller Williams, and I'm going to go through a screen share here, is we do a lot of goal setting. And as part of our goal setting, we have accountability. Now, I'm sure in any type of activity that you've been involved with, there's some type of accountability. And it's, I say that I'm going to make 20 phone calls a day, and then you actually get back in touch with somebody and they say, so how did you do? And the person says, oh, you know what? I didn't do good. I only did 10. And then you kind of talk about it, right? Like you talk about, what do you think happened? How do you think you could have hit that goal? What do you think that you could have done differently? So that's kind of what we talk about with accountability. Essentially, right, we're all adults here and we all run our own businesses, and whether or not we hit our goals is, it's completely on us, right? You're only disappointing your own business. Can everybody see my screen now? It says built-in accountability. Okay, great. So we use accountability to set out our list of goals each week, right? And the tool that we're going to use to set our goals is going to be our business plan, and we'll get to that. And some of us already have a business plan, so we know what our goals are, and some of us need a business plan, and we'll get to that. But we use the business plan to decide what our goals are going to be. And from there, we then map out our strategy. Now, if anybody that knows me, I equate everything to weight loss because I've been on a diet since I was born. So for instance, if I was doing Weight Watchers is probably the best accountability program in the world. It predates anything that Keller Williams could ever talk about with accountability. But I went to Weight Watchers back when I was in high school, and you basically said, you know, I want to weigh 100 pounds. And they took your weight and they said, okay, Mrs. You know, Annemarie, you have 20 pounds to lose. And at that point, right, I knew what, you know, knowing where I was and where I had it to go, I figured out a way to get there. And then each week I went to the Weight Watchers meeting and they put you on a scale and they're like, congratulations, you lost 2 pounds. So basically, or you have a week and you put on 2 pounds. Well, what did you do, you know, different this week? How can we, you know, avoid this temptation? It's the same thing with real estate. So we use our business plan to help us set our goals. And then we use our 411 to help us devise our plan. And our 411 is something that we do every single week. And it starts with, you know, these are my goals this year. I want to make $100,000 gross commission income. I want to have a database of 350 people. And I want to have 5,000 real estate conversations. Great. And then I say, in the month of January, I'm going to accomplish these goals. In the month of February, I'm going to accomplish these goals. So, here we go. So each month, right, we have different goals that we achieve, that we set out to achieve. So we will use the 411 as the ability to, we will use the 411 as our ability to hit the goal, to monitor ourselves. But accountability is something that you and I do together, right? And you can have an accountability process with yourself. You can have an accountability partner. You can have an accountability peer, right? These are all things. And then you and I as coach and agent would have accountability together, right? And they're very, very productive meetings. So we sit down with our 411, which is our tool, and we say, okay, you know, Morgan, you were going to make 20, you were going to set an appointment this week, Morgan. How did you do, right? And you say, I did fantastic. I set 2 appointments. And I was like, yes, right? That's fantastic. Let's talk about what you did to get there. And we talk about the activities, and you say, well, I decided that I was going to make phone calls to a neighborhood. You know, somebody in our office just closed on a property that went above asking price for X amount of money. So I've decided that, you know, so that really worked. So now we know that works for you, right? So we can say, fantastic, that's how we're going to reach our goal. But let's say the opposite. Let's say, Morgan, you were going to make a goal this week to set 1 appointment, and you say to me, you know what, I didn't get it. And I said, okay, let's talk about that, right? What did you do this week, right? And if you were to say, I don't know, you know what, I don't know, you know, I don't know, you know, I just didn't have a good week. Okay, well, let's talk about that. Like, why didn't you have a good week? What could, you know, and you don't really know. What I would ask you then, are you tracking, right? So to see if we're hitting our numbers, we track. And we have a tracking sheet for you. So what we want to do each week is, and when we have our accountability, is we're going to review our goal. We already know what our goal is going to be. We're going to do the activities. And then you and I are going to do 3, 4, and 5 together in our accountability. We're going to measure the results, right? We're going to evaluate the process, and we're going to make adjustments. So, for instance, let's say your goal is to make an appointment, to set an appointment, and you had 30 conversations a day. So at the end of the week, you had 30 times 5 is, 150 conversations. I might say to you, wow, it sounds to me like you're doing the activity. Let me hear your script. So it may not be a commitment issue. It may be a skill issue, right? So then maybe we'll work on scripts, right? We'll make adjustments and we'll work on scripts. Conversely, you may say, I only called 10 people this week. And I would say, wow. So do you think maybe we need to call more people, right?
Huh?
So is it a commitment, right? Is it a commitment issue, right? Is it the fact that we didn't maybe reach enough people to hit that number? So again, is it skill or commitment? So we'll go back and we'll look at those things and we'll say, maybe having X number of conversations a day isn't enough. So we'll adjust the number. But throughout our conversations, we will evaluate our process, and we'll then begin to capitalize on what is working well for us. And we'll talk about where we need to make adjustments. So that is really how accountability plays into our goal, into our coaching. There are a lot of different goals or accountabilities here that we can set goals around, right? It could be amount of money. It can be number of appointments. It can be the size of your database. It could be your average price point. It could be people in your downline. We can also work on personal goals. Maybe it is to get out of debt. Perhaps it is to build wealth. So, and then we can we can track it, right? So with, our accountability comes tracking. And one of the things that we use to track is, bear with me. Oops, on the business plan that you and I will do together, we track, right? We usually will pick 3. Are you guys looking at the same? You see my commitment screen? It should be like red and then yellow, then blue, or green, I'm sorry, blue and yellow. Does everybody see that? You're probably
No.
all on. Okay, what do you guys?
Went away.
Okay, let me screen share. Here we go. So does everybody see my screen now? It says commitment and tracking, and it'll give dates on the side, and then at the top it has the activities that we're going to track.
I see it, yes.
Okay, great, thank you. So we'll go through here, and everybody's commitment and tracking will be completely different. But this is an interactive Google Sheet that you and I will set up together. For instance, maybe part of reaching your goal is having conversations with FSBOs. Maybe part of reaching your goal is holding open houses. Now, obviously, this person's is pre-COVID because we're not having open houses right now. But maybe we start to help agents hold virtual open houses, which is an idea that I'm thinking of. Maybe your goals would be reaching out to your SOI. Maybe your tracking would be creating social media posts where you can respond. Maybe it's text messaging. Maybe it's one of my new favorite things is holding how-tos, first-time home buyer seminar, how to sell a home in today's market. And you can do these via Zoom online. You can do a first-time home buyer. You can do an investor seminar. So we will work together on where you get your energy from lead generation. And again, it can be anything that you desire. It could be door knocking, right? It could be, although I'm not quite sure we're ready to door knock just yet, but maybe it would be social groups, right? Maybe you want to join a networking group. I had chatted with an agent earlier today, and we talked about a networking group. And out of the networking group, we can measure our results. So we track everything. Think of this very much as your batting average, right? So let's say that we track batting averages for, for teens, or it's yards when, for throwing the touchdown, right? We track all of this, and then we're able to evaluate results. It's interesting, and I say this because I track myself, right? I am responsible for bringing in 5 people a month. And I know that if I book 20 appointments, I will hit my goal. If I don't book my appointments, I don't hit my goal. I had once seen a interview with Joe Montana, and I hope everybody on here, there's probably a few of you that don't know Joe Montana, and if you don't know who he is, don't raise your hand because I don't want to feel sick. But he was a very, very, very well-respected, winning quarterback in the NFL. And I had seen him interviewed one time, and he said, all I really have to do to win a game is get 20 first downs. If I can get 20 first downs, then I know that I'm going to win the game. It's the same for us, right? If you were to ask somebody like Dave Batty or Terry Scollin, or somebody that really tracks their lead generation, they're going to be able to tell you that they typically have to dial the phone X number of times to get an appointment. And they need to go on, for every, 5 appointments they go on, they get 3 listings. So we want to get to the point where we absolutely know 100%, what our metrics are, and then we can begin to get better. So let me get some feedback before we move on. Is all of this making sense? I'm going to unmute, right? I think everybody is. Nope. So, so what, I want to unmute everybody. Or if allow participants, all right, so everybody can unmute themselves now. Share with me, does this make sense to you when I talk about the accountability section of it? Now, some people, I am probably harder on myself than I would be with anybody else. To me, not reaching a goal is like sticking a dagger in my heart. I would sooner be up all night making phone calls than not reach my goal. However, not everybody's like that, right? Some people feel more with a team, right? They feel like, oh my God, I could never let my team down. Where for themselves, they would be okay. So those are the types of, accountability that some people need. For me, my accountability has always been my checkbook. I got to pay my bills. So is this making sense to you so far with the goal setting and accountability?
Sure.
Yeah. it's not the fun part, but you know what I find with this is, you know, you learn so much about yourself. You learn so much about what you are capable of. Who else has some ideas on accountability?
I'd like to add an idea I've always used is setting the goals, however many calls it is or whatever. I always like to give myself more to do than I think I could do. And that way, if you miss somebody, you got somebody else you can go on to. But
Yeah.
you may feel disappointed at the end because you didn't do 30, you did 20, but whatever your goal was, at least you reached your goal. So
Yeah.
that had a lot to do in those days with staying on the street because we didn't have all the technology we have today. So you can do it from home now.
Yeah, no, that's true. So in the Millionaire Real Estate book, right, I hope everybody has read it or will be reading it. It's the aim high principle where Gary talks about the aiming high to hit your goals. And this way, if you hit, you know, if the arrow, you know, comes down a little bit, that's okay, right? Because we're still there. I always like to not only set a goal, but I like to set a stretch goal.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like what we do together, right? So how'd you do this week? So our conversation typically starts with, so tell me what great things happened this week and how can we get better? So we do a lot of accountability because in sales, right, it's different, right? Because it's typically the first time you've been, you know, measuring yourself. You know, a lot of you have probably come from, you know, a regular job where, you know, you came in every day and your expectations were pretty clear. And, but now we're, you know, it's a little bit different when you're on your own. And that brings up the next conversation that we're going to have is time blocking. Is anybody on this call an expert in time blocking? So what I have learned that truly successful people become experts at time blocking. I am not that person. I strive every single day to be that person, but I you know, I'm not good at it. I'm going to be the first one to admit it. However, it is a goal of mine. And so I really want to first put it out there and say that I am a student of time blocking, and I too am striving to get better on it every single day. So time blocking, right? There's many different ways to kind of time block. Gary Keller teaches us that if you have to kiss a frog, kiss it first thing in the morning. Now, he doesn't say it quite so eloquently, but in time blocking, right, we want to focus, we really want to decide what is our top 20%, right? Like, what is our big rocks? What are the things that we have to get done that are the most important things? So what do you think in this business is your 20%? If anybody, you have to unmute yourself. Who can say what their, wish I knew how to unmute people. Yeah, here we go. Utilizing time accurately, especially with clients. Yep, that's great, Morgan. So your 20% in real estate, actually, the most important thing that you can do is lead generate. Gary Keller also teaches us that you never want to let taking care of business get in the way of getting new business. So we time block for these things. And again, time blocking is something that we've done our entire life. I want to make you think back. Well, eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner is time blocking, right? All time blocking. When you went to real estate school, or when you went to school, right? You go in the morning and you have homeroom where you get some important information. And then maybe, you went to math class and you were in math for 2 hours or an hour. And then you went to English and then you were in there, right? You have been time blocking your entire life. And a lot of times we don't look at it like that. But you want to think about time blocking in the real estate business is the exact same way. So one of the things that we'll evaluate on our one-on-one is time blocking. What does your time block look like? And in real estate, what I want you to understand is you have to time block for the most important things first, right? So if other than your family time and personal time, which is always number one, right? Family and personal always come first. Vacation time, time with family. But what do your 20% in real estate is really, is lead generating. And those are the things that you want to time block for every single day. Now, Gary Keller tells us that we should be doing that the first several hours of the day. I'm going to tell you that I wish I could do it that way, but unfortunately my schedule doesn't fit that way because we do group coaching sometimes. I'm going to share my screen with you so I can show you a little bit of what my time block looks like. Now, this is a place where I want you to understand that I am being really transparent and really honest with you, and I am not a good time blocker, yet I am working on it every single day. So when I share my screen, I'm going to show you my calendar. And my calendar, are you guys seeing my calendar by chance? I'm looking at Morgan, she's shaking her head yes, right, Morgan? Okay, so my lead generation time is typically blocked, which is not good this week. I should not even be, but my schedule, I'm gonna show you last week. So as you can see, anywhere that there is purple, that's lead generation time for me, right? So the ideal calendar that you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to time block every single, you're gonna want to time block for the most important activities, right? So what I usually suggest is time blocking for lead generation, time blocking for education, right? So when we have a really, really, really important class, you should have it time blocked on your calendar. You never want to say, oh my gosh, you know what, I missed something super important because I was out on a showing, right? Because you want to be able to control your calendar, right? So you want to be purposeful about the things that you put on your calendar. So you want to make sure that the things that you put on your calendar are really important, right? But let's say you have an urgent class that that's utmost important, and a person calls you and says, I want to see a house, right? Your response could very well be, well, you know what, Joe, that house looks fantastic. I think that it is going to suit your needs so well. Look, I can show you that house today at 2 or tomorrow at 4. When you call the doctor, right, do they say, oh, Joe, what time do you want to come in today? The schedule's yours. You pick your own time, right? None of us are that lucky to have a doctor or a dentist or an accountant or anybody for that matter that says, oh, my schedule's wide open. Be my guest. Right? You want to time block for the things that are important. So, look at it and time block and say, okay, group coaching. I want to be at group coaching. That's where I get to know people. That's where I get to work with people. And I am really excited to be a part of that. So I'm going to time block for it. I know that it's going to be really good for me. Something else might be your lead generation, right? I don't want to miss my lead generation, so I'm going to time block for that. So be very thoughtful. Here's another thing is you don't want to be so rigid with your time block that you don't have space in between. Because then you're not going to follow it. If it's that rigid and it's that tight, like we're not robots. You want to give some flexibility in there because first of all, you're a realtor, things are going to pop up. So leave cushions in there. We're also human beings, and I time block in my schedule to work, to talk to my coworkers. I love the people I work with. I love my office. Working from home and not being around the people in my office was one of the hardest things because I truly love them and I love being around them. And I time block. I time block 15 minutes in the morning just to talk to my coworkers and how are you? How are you doing? How was your night last night? Like, it's really important for me to talk to people. I time block sometimes after I've been lead generating to get up and walk around the office. So time block for other things. Put it in your schedule. There's a bold law that says if it's not in your schedule, it doesn't exist. If you erase, you must replace. One of the reasons I love using the Google Calendar is because I can very easily slide things around. So it's easier. So let's just say, Melissa Neves, I have you here at 9:45 on Wednesday. Let's say Melissa said, can we do another time? I could say, yeah, I don't want to erase you. I'll move you over here. So now I've moved Melissa to another section, right? So if you replace, you must, if you erase, you must replace. So I like using my calendar here, my Google Calendar, because I can move things around. And I also color code mine. Now, if you color code it in bold ways, yellow or green is supposed to be your lead generation because that is the money-making activity. So you want to make sure that you're getting it on your calendar. And then even once you time block, for instance, for my lead generation, you can time block within your lead generation, right? So maybe the first hour of your time block is new calls. Maybe the second hour of your time block is follow-up. Maybe the third hour of your time block is social media posts or handwritten notes, right? So you want to time block within your time block. So you know exactly what you're doing. What I try to tell people is you want to use your time block almost as if you're a school teacher and you have a substitute teacher coming in, and that person can take your calendar and see exactly what you're doing and be able to carry on. You say, from here we're going to do this, then we're going to do this. So that works really well. And then to really kind of bring this full circle, utilizing your time block, right, to the highest and best, I like to use command, right? So I use command to make sure, there's Melissa, oops, I'm in the wrong section. Here we go, command. So I know for my lead generation, I'm going to call it this Annemarie proof, or so I don't get sorry, somebody texted me, my mind went blank. I don't sit down for my time block and think, okay, who should I call now? If you can see here, my time block, I already have down who I'm supposed to call, right? I have a list of coaching agents that is my sphere of influence, who I reach out to. So my people, see, I'm kind of late. I was supposed to yesterday call agents up. Joe Comby, I was supposed to call you yesterday just to check in, but I'm going to call, I'm meeting with you tomorrow or Wednesday. It also has other agents that I would call. So you want to be able to set up, you know, and we'll get through all of this. Once you go through these courses full circle, you'll see how it all kind of fits together. But it's almost like, okay, I come in, I sit down, it's time for lead generation, boom, there it is. So then I'm able to use my time block in the most efficient manner. So does that make sense to everybody? So the accountability and the time blocking, right, really go hand in hand. The accountability really is, how'd you do that? You know, your goal was to talk to 20 people. How'd you do, right? How did you do? Great, you know, you hit your goal. That's fantastic. What were the results? Great. What are we going to do the same thing next week? Are we going to make it better? Are we going to, you know, increase it? I didn't hit my goal. Okay. Let's nail down what happened. Let's talk about it. You know, was it a script? Was it skill? Was it commitment? And then let's figure it out. From there, we'll talk about how'd you do with your time block, right? Are you time blocking for lead generation, education, working in your business and on your business, right? I used to think, and I still think this somewhat, that the ideal day, especially when you're new, is starting at 8 o'clock in the morning with lead generation. 8 to noon is lead generation. Now that could be 8 o'clock looking at your, you know, right, maybe you're not calling people right at 8 o'clock. Maybe you're calling people that you can catch in the car on the way to work. Right, so you're talking to people. You are, you're, as part of that, you're making notes in command. Maybe you're sending out handwritten notes. So you're keeping track, the number of conversations you've had. So we can measure that at the end of the week. Then from noon to 2:30 is education, right? So that's maybe when you're taking a class. That's when you are spending time learning about something on command. You are researching something for, you know, how to do, you know, how to learn more about a septic system or a park form. And then from 2 to 5, you're showing homes, you're writing contracts, you are, you're following up with people. I'll share a really quick story with you guys. My struggle is following my time block, right? And I worked with a team leader many years ago, and he had texted me at nighttime and said he had an urgent matter and that he needed me to pull a report on some type of producers or something. And he needed it, it was urgent. I said, great. And so I pulled the report together that night. I stayed up late, I got it done. And I saw him like maybe 9:30 the next morning. And I said, oh, you know, Jim, did you get that report I sent to you? And he said, oh, no. And I was like, oh, well, you said it was urgent. And he says, yeah, I don't read my email till 11 o'clock because I'm busy in the morning making phone calls. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was enviously angry. Does that make sense? I was so envious that somebody could have such discipline because that's not me. And I was kind of angry because he said it was urgent. And I spent some evening time doing it. But anyway, it still sticks out in my mind as maybe as a goal that I'd like to hit someday, that I'd be able to really stick to my time block. So accountability and time blocking. As you will see in this business, they are two really important pillars that we focus on. The accountability is huge, right? To meet your goals. Some of us need more accountability than others. Some of us don't need any accountability. Time blocking, it's hard. It's hard to come from a business where you're told every day what to do to being an entrepreneur, right? Right? Sometimes we got to wheel you guys in, right? And I say that as myself, right? But when you start to try to look at your time block, you really, you can fine tune it. I'll even show you how hard I struggle with it. But every morning as I get up, I have on my thing here, and not only do I have a time block, but I will actually kind of write it out. And, you know, I'll talk about, you know, from 8 to this is what I'm doing. I'll make notes in red for different things that are important. I don't know if you guys can see what I'm holding up, but I will actually continue to even try to write my time block out, because I know that really the secret here to kind of fitting this all in and making sure that you lead generate, that you learn, that you work with clients is in the time blocking. I always say to people, if your lead generation is pendulaic, your income will be as well. So let's talk. What are your thoughts on that? So it's accountability, tracking, and time blocking. And right, this is things that you and I do together on a one-on-one basis. So don't think, right, that you have to, oh my God, now I don't know what to do. I have at the bottom of my email, click here to make an appointment with me, right? That's what we do. We do business planning, we do goal setting, we do 411s, we do accountability, we do time blocking. So what questions do you guys have? And let me see here. Thank you, Vicki. What is an average time to time block, right? So for lead generation in the beginning, I would say 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours. Now that doesn't mean you have, you know, that could be handwritten notes. That could be social media. That could be texting. That could be emailing. That could be preparing for your seminar. Setting a point of completion. I mean, let's see. I'm an organized person. I like having my goals and plans. If I'm not being productive, that's an issue. You and me, Morgan, are really the same, because I am obsessively. So just to share. When we went on the pandemic, I was one of those people that said to my husband, who's not like me, and my kids, I refuse to come out of this pandemic without getting a list of things done. So I made a list of business things and I made a list of home things. And every day I had something to do. I had zero downtime. And every weekend we were painting, or we were cleaning, or we were organizing. And then in my business, I was constantly lead generating, and I would look at the clock. A tip, I have an app on my phone that rings every hour. It's just a little chime, and it clues me into going on to the next thing. What do you suggest for someone that has a full-time job, and where does your leads come from? Thank you, Ivy. So somebody that has a full-time job, we will talk about lead generation when you can do it. Perhaps you can lead generate on your way to work, right? So that takes a lot of organization, but it's so doable. So maybe, right, we do phone calls on our way to work in the morning so that you already know who you're calling, you're making those phone calls, or maybe you're texting on your lunch break. Maybe when you get home from work, you are doing a first-time homebuyer seminar, you're doing a investor seminar. Maybe on the weekends, now again, we're not doing open houses again right now, but in the future, maybe we're doing door knocking and open houses. So don't worry, ID, we do fit those things in on the off time. And I know it's hard when you're dual career. And so those are things that we'll work on together. And, you know, sometimes, right, you may want to do paid advertising, right? Maybe you want to do paid social media campaigns. So I have two sets of different types of agents. I have the full-time agents that have very little income because they're not working full-time. So they can't usually pay to do the leads, you know, pay to do a lot of the lead generation through, you know, a large Facebook advertising. Or I have people that are working full-time and have very little time to do the organic lead gen, but they'll pay for it. So that's one of the reasons we do the evening coaching and the day coaching, because the evening agents that are dual career have a different set of challenges. So again, we'll do things like maybe we'll do pay per click through Facebook. Maybe we'll do more things on the weekend as opposed to during the week. So, and it also depends on like what you like. Maybe you are really, really, really social. I have a lot of people that have made it in this business who have lead generated through their kids, and they go to, they go constantly to different baseball games and soccer games, and they're there the entire time, and they're handing out business cards, and they are, they're just, really kind of maneuvering through their kids, and that's a great way to do it. Let's see. Leads typically come ID from people which is one of the reasons that I tell everybody that that's why you want to start with a group of people. You want to start with 200 names, because when you keep lead generating on them, that is how you get business, right? You get business through people So we talk about in the very beginning, we talk about creating this list of people. That's why it's so important to create this database, because that's where you're going to get your business from. We learn, right, from everybody that it is that you can get on one piece of business from every 6 people Now, that's not saying every 6 people are going to buy or sell a house from you. That's saying that everybody knows at least 6 people over the course of a year that are going to buy and sell. So we're not saying they know that, right? A lot of times people will say, well, all of my friends are in their forever home. Okay, but they may know somebody that's not. They may know somebody through work or through church or through a social network. So that's the reason you still build this database, is because you may know somebody else. I typically plan my week before it starts. So do I. Morgan, I think you and I are going to get along perfect, because I do mine on Sundays. I plan my week on Sundays, and I get very grumpy. Maybe you don't get grumpy, but I get very grumpy when something throws me off my time block. Okay, who else has, I guess since all my kids are in school. Okay, Vicki, yeah, it's a little bit, yeah, it takes a little bit of getting used to with the time block. But like I said, I really try to, if I can stick to maybe a 2-hour time block in the beginning, I'm okay with that. So it's a little each day. I just, oh, good. I'm glad to see I'm not the only one that gets irritated. Let's see, who else? The average time to time block, so education is probably 2 hours a day. Lead generation should be 3 to 4. So what other questions do we have? I want to give you guys a break before the next classes come on. What are some other things? So was this helpful? Joe, I can't hear you. Oh, good. Awesome. All right. So next step, get on my calendar. At the bottom of every email that I have says, please click here to make an appointment with me, and let's work on this. I am available to meet with you. So please get on my calendar. That's so awesome. All right, everybody. Chat soon.